copyright free music really ain't that bad. I'm kind of surprised. How's everyone doing? What's up? I'm just chilling out today. I got some questions to answer. I tried to set everything up so that hopefully you won't hear the keyboard too loud. I'm gonna chill a little bit before I start doing that. Maybe take any questions or talk if anyone wants to share anything. Shaking up my Kava. Do I have any Kava drinkers here? Pouring it up. Camera shit's all off. Bula. Tastes terrible. I got a message. Well, Kava, in case any of y'all don't know, I also work at a Kava bar. It's a drink from like places like Fiji, Vanuatu, Hawaii. It's a root of a pepper plant ground up and they kind of melt in a bag, kind of like you would almond milk or soy milk, stuff like that. And it creates this milky, really dirty tasting, numbing liquid. That's wonderful. Acts on your GABA receptors, makes you more social, more talkative, relaxes the mind and the body in a nice, subtle, but very noticeable way. FDA approved for all ages. There aren't that many Kava bars out there, but where I live in Florida, there is tons of them. I'm telling you, my friend, that's what it is. Sometimes it's referred to as Kava as well, like Kava. Not to be confused with the Spanish sparkling wine, Cava. I get that a lot. Kava's a really great non-alcoholic alternative. The place I work stays open till midnight. There's places in my city that stay open till 3 a.m. or even 24/7, kind of bar-like atmosphere, without, drunk people. It's usually better to not be around drunk people, in my opinion. I also got some kratom, ate a gummy earlier. I'm vibing, I'm chilling. I've never used this StreamYard free music thing that they got going on. I hope it's okay. Is the volume all right for everyone? If you saw the thumbnail to this, I'm going to give a shout out to Adam Turrell. That's his artwork that I kind of edited up and glitched out just a little bit. And the reason I did that is because I am answering questions for Locust Review right now. And Locust Review, I joined the editorial team a few months ago and helped put out the last issue. But then this next one will really be a lot more involved in. It's a wonderful, critical, a realist, surreal socialist newsprint magazine. It comes out quarterly. Highly recommend it to people. I highly recommend artists to submit stuff to it. There's fiction, poetry, reviews, more political writings, and of course, lots and lots of drawings. Really great stuff. I've been interviewed on their podcast. I've been in, I think, every issue of Locust Review. Maybe not the first one, but most of the issues of Locust Review. And then, like I said, I joined them a couple months ago. So I've been really happy to be on that. It's a great group of people from all over the world, a lot of places in the US and India. I think it will continue to expand. I really like the project. It's a critical realism to combat capitalist realism. So in a lot of ways, a lot of the stuff I do at the Acid Left, right? But a bit more of a different type of audience. or not audience, similar audience, different approach, but to the same thing. So we Locust Review, are being interviewed for a newspaper that all answers. So I thought it would be a fun thing to do on stream while talking to people. What's up? I'm having another shell of Kava before I start answering stuff. We call it a shell, a serving. See, I'm drinking out of this metal thing, a little metal bowl. It's traditionally done in coconut shells, in like Fiji and stuff like that. So that's why they try to keep that, call it a shell. That's what the serving is. You can drink it out of a cup or whatever. They also sell like Kava pills and Kava extracts. I don't like them. They also have instant Kava, which we'll do in a pinch, but I don't like. The pills, I just don't think it's an effective way to take it. The extract is so numbing and awful tasting that it's really hard to shake. And also a lot of it is done with alcohol, and Kava and alcohol do not mix. So I find that strange. And the instant Kava as well. Yeah, I don't know. Something about the ritual is gone in the making of it. And also it just doesn't, it tastes worse as well. I mean, Kava will never taste good unless you're getting like a fancy cocktail or something like that, like, you know, mixing it with lime and ginger beer, a whole bunch of chocolate and sugar. But honestly, my favorite way to drink it is natural. See how muddy it looks? Bula. Bula is the traditional cheers for Kava. It means to long life and good health. Bula Vanaka in the Fijian culture. All right, let's see. You can see these people's answers, but I'm not gonna be reading through them. I purposefully want to not read others' answers. I started to yesterday, and I was like, no, I don't think that's a good idea. Can you introduce yourself and your background, artistically and politically? Look how... Oh, man. My comrades here are probably much better with words than me. How was that with the typing? I tried testing it out. I was really hoping I could get it so that the typing wasn't incredibly annoying. When I went keyboard shopping a few months ago, I purposefully got kind of it's a new nice keyboard, but it's set up like the old ones, not like a laptop one. I really like that click and tactile sensation when I'm writing, but I realized doing it on stream, it can be extremely annoying. So I hope I positioned my mic in a way that you can still hear me, but not hear that overwhelmingly. And of course, the copyright-free lo-fi music helps. I gotta figure out a way to stream regular music because I have so many friends that make wonderful, wonderful instrumental music that I know would allow me to play through it. You know, that is a good question though. Who the fuck am I? Let's start artistically. Oh, you're also gonna see both my terrible typing skills and even worse spelling, which if you followed me in any capacity, you know that. I don't know, it's a bourgeois construct, right? No, English is not phonetic though. What the fuck's up with that? English is not phonetic. It's a cobbled together language that is purposefully obtuse, right? Like the Merriam-Webster's dictionary, the first version, when it was just Webster, I believe it was just Webster. I could have that reversed. Was a phonetic they tried to actually phonetically spell out a language, because you gotta think, spelling was not set until very recently. It's a very recent construct in regards to written language. So the first American dictionary is phonetically spelled, and if you read through it, you can find scans online. It definitely has a Southern American, like Virginian type bias. You read it and you're like, oh, if you say it in that kind of accent, it's like, oh yeah, that perfectly makes sense. But when the second person, who I'm pretty sure was Merriam, bought it out and republished it, he wanted to put finesse on words. He wanted to make them reflect what he thought their etymological origins were. So if he thought, oh, this word has French origins, he just basically said, I'm gonna make it look French. And that's why spelling is stupid. You should, like, the Korean language has 23 characters, and they all have a sound. So even if you don't know Korean, if you learn those characters, then you can just read Korean. You might not know what you're saying, but you could absolutely read it. What does facts say? There was a phonetic universal alphabet in existence used to pronounce words of many languages. Do you mean this is a thing that someone has created, or are you talking about like in a strange Chomsky adjacent, like universal grammar way, or like just the way that we would naturally read it? Because I don't know, there's definitely biases depending where you are and like what your tones and vowel sounds and consonant sounds are, right? Like or do you mean like a dictionary type of way where it like gives you all the pronunciation, the esoteric symbols? That fascinated me so much as a kid, looking at dictionaries and how to pronounce words and seeing, the upside down E's and the umlauts and, all that, and just being like, what does this mean? It's like, I don't know. I loved it. It's lost its appeal now, but I still find it. But yeah, I say it's lost its appeal, but no, it hasn't. It's still fascinating because I don't know what all of them mean. But yeah. The last one you mentioned, the dictionary is what you mean? I guess that's true, but you would have to, I guess that's, with anything, you would have to just know it. Once you know it, then you can read it. But that's also assuming, right, that there's, that's assuming that you have access to it and that it's written out that way. So there might be that phonetic universal alphabet, but unless something's written in it, you're not going to be able to get it. So at that point, is it almost just its own language that encompasses all other languages? That's interesting. That was great procrastination on that. I love my spelling rant. It's true. I bought a lot of comic books when I was a young kid at garage sales around the area in Michigan, and I hardly ever read them. I just loved looking at the art. Um, will there be any more videos on Rick Roderick or another interview with his sons anytime soon? I would absolutely do a video on Rick Roderick. I mean, there's so much to say about him. It's hard to say. Like, if you have an idea for a specific topic to explore within Roderick's work, I would definitely take a look at it. I feel so incredibly inspired by his stuff. Like, as I've talked about before. I mean, it might even be fun as a community to pick one of his videos and watch it, to look through it. As far as interviews with his sons, there are none scheduled at this time. His one son is funny. The one son that's a poet, and that writes really good poetry. Check it out. You can find it on the rickroderick.org. It has a link to it. He does not want to speak to the public. He doesn't find himself he doesn't like the process, you know, which is funny because he's a poet. And as far as Marshall, who we interviewed, he doesn't have anything else he could say at this moment, is my understanding, right? Like, there's things in the works, but he's being very careful. The family's being very careful with revealing larger details. He's told us a couple of them, and I mean, it's exciting. I think everyone will be very happy, and I mean, I feel like there's even a lot that he doesn't even want to tell us, even though he knows we're not gonna spill the beans. But yeah, as soon as any of the various things that are in the works come out, I would happily have him back on. I love talking to him, and obviously Rick, his father, is a major influence. Pronunciation changes over time, so a phonetic spelling would get outdated, and English has a lot of regional dialects, and you can't just choose one phonetic spelling that is correct. Well, somewhat I agree with this, but I also think phonetic differences don't necessarily have to be reflected in the language, or the language itself, like dialectical. The difference between different dialects in pronunciation doesn't have to necessarily be reflected in a phonetic language, because you could still get that. Like, if there's a hard concept to think out. If the A has a different vowel sound recognized in various parts of the country, I think that would be perfectly acceptable to still consider it a phonetic language. Like, I don't know. I guess maybe not. That's really hard to put my finger on, because I think there's a difference in the way dialects sound and the way that we write, like tongue, for instance. In the original American dictionary, tongue is spelled T-U-N-G, which to me makes sense no matter what English accent you're saying it with. In fact, I would love to hear an accent pronouncing tongue where T-U-N-G does not make sense. But Nuclear Glue, maybe the larger thing I'm saying is that concept of right and wrong spelling is inherently flawed. Now, obviously, there has to be readability. Like, there's a difference between something that's completely incomprehensible and allowing a playfulness within spelling. But like, if you can read it completely fine, I really don't get it. I don't know. There's a strange fixation within spelling that has never mattered to me. Concepts are much more interesting than spelling, Just so weird. Yes. It's weird that I didn't make visual art or didn't even think of myself as a visual artist for such a long time. Think of myself as an artist. You should always label yourself an artist. I now think as someone who labels himself an artist. It gives you a lot of power. I don't know why it couldn't seem to be a contraction I felt obligated to fix. Once I started drawing, I felt I couldn't stop. That is true. Typographia. And really, nuclear glue, it's probably my rant against spelling is probably a defense because I suck at it. The word there. I have no idea what that means. Vague. That's another one. That word looks wrong to me. Very wrong. They got copy editors. I don't believe all of our answers are being used in a full context. I think it's the interviewer is amalgamating them. Also, if y'all have any ideas for videos, for more lighthearted stream ones, reaction videos, or video essays or philosophical concepts you think I could do justice to, please let me know. I'm always looking for different stuff. I really want to expand the channel in an unalgorithmically friendly way of exploring many different topics. Fuck Wall Street. Capital M's look really nice. I'll get there, 1 second. All right, I got some comments here. Let's see. Wait, real fast. Lucy, what I'm writing is these are an interview that a newspaper in Illinois is doing with the Locust Review. I joined their editorial staff not long ago, 2 months ago maybe, and it's been great. And they have what's called the Born Again. Two of the members have what the Born Again Labor Museum up there, which is an actual place you can go into. Very, very cool. Features a lot of their art and some Locust Review stuff. It's almost open. So anyways, they're doing an interview with Locust Review, and so we're all answering our various questions. So I think I'm actually just up with this first one, which was like a little bit of background stuff with me and just chatting to people, you know. But of course, I'll share that interview when it comes out, as will the Locust Review, obviously. Now going back. Oh boy. Okay, let's see. Is there anything with this thing to Russia, or is it just maneuvers? I mean, do you think Russia is really going to invade Ukraine, or are they just doing military exercises near the border? That's Evil Boy. And we got to talk about natural gas. Fact and Evil Boy go back about natural gas contracts. And Russia doesn't want Ukraine in NATO either. I mean, yeah, I don't know is there anything going on? Of course, this could lead to aggression on either side. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I think Russia wants Ukraine. I think that they have shown pretty expansionist policies in the past few years. It's, Chechnya, Crimea. They've done this before. What the internal goals of Putin are, what his actual mind, heart, and soul want, I don't know. I don't think anyone does, honestly. That's something I've been thinking about a lot lately, because I read a lot of philosophy and theory, and, as well as keep up with current events and news and reading history and stuff. And there was something I was listening to that made me think of, what was it? It was Spitlib. Kyle Kalinske and Vosh talking about Russia and Ukraine, and Kalinske said something like, well, the lesson of World War I was, and I think that phrase, even though I've heard it before, really broke something open in my mind. It allowed me to see something differently. The lesson of World War I, the lesson of anything. How do you know how? It implies that you know the problem, that there was a correct solution. Does the lesson come? The lesson is usually means that we take it from the wrong thing happened, right? And So the lesson is that this is what was real. It's all bullshit. That's you putting on your filters of today through your own lenses and reading back a historical situation which was far, far, far more complex. Geopolitics, I mean, even people that are incredibly versed in this kind of stuff, predictions like that and like actual motivations, you can only get, within a football field's length at best. So Russia wants to supply natural gas to the European Union or vice versa. Oh, already went through that. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. They probably want resources. They probably want land and population, power, right? Like, it doesn't have to be that much. People in positions of power tend to want more power. Bula. That's honestly, it doesn't matter that much to me why they're doing it. Questions are what happens next, and I have less answers there. So, like I said, geopolitics. I should be. I just feel that we speak too much about things that are far more uncertain than we really know. Not to say that we shouldn't have opinions and voices. Obviously, that's what we want, is the ability for all of us to have a say in this kind of stuff. But anyways, the guy dropped off at work yesterday some gummies, asking us if we might want to sell them, so for sample. And he said these are CBD gummies. The packaging said otherwise. And he said, no, those are packaging from the other thing. I'm from Colorado. Like, that's just what the other ones we have. We want to sell these ones in Florida. They're CBD gummies. I think he was wrong. I think the packaging was correct. But I'm going to continue. How did this project start, and how did you become involved in it? This project being Locust Review. Before I start that again. There are no lessons that have been learned from most wars because they keep happening from Fak. I mean, I want to agree in sentiment with this, but it's that's kind of that paradox that Crack showed me, was that there are no lessons because they keep happening. This assumes that from the beginning that wars are fought to stop them from happening in the future, or to stop conflicts from re-emerging. And I don't think that's the case. That's a weird way of looking at it. It's a way I think we are naturally taught, or not naturally, that we are taught to look at it from the way schools, at least in the US, teach history. But it doesn't seem right. I don't know, to me. There's many, many reasons people could fight a war and want another one to happen again when that one is over with, when they've recuperated. There's lots of reasons. There's, in fact, structural incentives of capitalism for that. All right. Where am I? How did the project start? That project is the Locust Review. Right? What kind of bullshit is this? is funny. I'm pretty sure this is how I met Locust Review and all those people. I was posting on a Facebook group. Socialist art, I believe. There's a social. Let me look this up because I do want to give them their due credit. Oh shit. Yeah, it's funny. I started posting on this Facebook group, and like Adam reached out to me, Adam Turrell, who is one of the founders of Locust Review, but it was before Locust Review had started. He was an editor and a writer for Red Wedge magazine, and asked me if I'd be interested in submitting some stuff for their next issue, which I believe turned out to be their last issue. And then he got in contact with me again when they were starting Locust with everyone, and asked me to submit stuff. And I have been a regular submitter. Like I said, I've joined their podcast. They've been on mine. I want to have more people from Locust on Acid Left's page. I talked to Adam and Tish Turrell, and it was a wonderful talk. My internet was messing up. I've since don't use Wi-Fi. I'm sure most streamers know this, but if you're just getting into it or thinking about getting into it, don't use Wi-Fi. Plug in. It helps so much. I was having lag issues and the sound quality is so bad, but I loved the interview, so I tried to help it as much as I could, but especially the first half of it, there is a lot of it's terrible. Okay. Sorry, I was looking stuff during that too. Call. Start capitalizing everything. Wars are wars are good. All right, yeah, let's put that up. Wars are good for arms makers and for the bankers who supply both sides credit to purchase those arms. And the money is necessary to rebuild all that is destroyed. Yeah, absolutely. Those are incentives of capitalism for wars to continue. Has there been any shows on the concept of parapolitics or realpolitik? Not that I can think of. Not that I can think of at all. What do you mean by shows? Do you mean like acid left content? Or do you mean like YouTube related content, or like actual like produced TV shows and stuff like that? For produced TV shows, I definitely can't think of any. For YouTube content, the only thing that comes to my mind is probably, I mean, he covers a wide range of topics, but the work of C. Derek Varn. I know, especially back in the day, like pre-Zero Books days, him and Doug Lane would talk about stuff, and some of that would come up. From good, I mean, Derek is normally quite the critic, which is good. I think it keeps me on my toes. From my channel, no, I don't think we've touched on that. I couldn't say so. Not in any extensive way. I mean, parapolitics, a lot of our stuff is related to parapolitics, quite honestly. Podcast-wise, some of our stuff with the Clandestine Unit for Imaginary Research, we've done 2 podcasts from them, with them, and there's also like a 10-minute short on only Instagram that's with them that touches on that a little bit too. Yeah, I mean, broadly, a lot of our stuff touches on parapolitics as art and memes and, you know, stuff like that, touching on the cultural sides of this. All right, so next question. What are your principal sources of inspiration individually and as a group? I hate this question. No offense to the interviewer, but they're just trying to get a sense of who we are. I never know how to answer this stuff. Oh boy. I'm sorry, that's terrible. I don't know. It feels true. Oh, I'm sorry. I have got to go to the bathroom. I will be right back. I'll be right back. What's up? What's up? Evil Boy found this channel by way of Zero Books to This Is Revolution to Acid Horizon. I really like Zero Books. I read Capitalist Realism by Fisher probably the year it came out. I thought it was mind-blowing. I had been reading Zizek before that, although not long before that. And then years later, I thought I was talking to a friend about capitalist realism, and then I thought, oh, I wonder if there's any videos that relate to it. So I typed in, I think I typed in capitalist realism, or I might have just typed in Zero Books to YouTube. Saw they had a channel, played one of the videos for him, and it was one of the first videos that Doug Lane did that was like the capitalist realism of X type thing, which people came to really hate him for. But I think those videos, a lot of them are really good. And then I listened to the Zero Squared podcast, especially, and then I even went back and listened to a lot of the old diet soaps that were still available. I really enjoyed a lot of that stuff, and it led me in a lot of directions, a lot of places to explore that I had been unaware of. Doug's conversations with C. Derek Varn, I mean, especially, a lot of them are good, but man, those first like 2 or 3 years, they're really some really good stuff. The way that they play off of each other, and the way that Doug prompts Derek to respond is, I don't know. I don't want to say anything else more about it. It's really great. This is Revolution. I don't listen to every podcast they do, but I do really like them. Yeah, I mean, it's both sometimes incredibly serious and sometimes incredibly silly and funny and just friends having a good time, which I really like that dynamic between them. And a lot of the recurring guests they have on, I think, are really great. Acid Horizon, I need to go back and listen to a lot of their stuff. I listened to them for their first maybe 4 or 5 episodes, which I know isn't much, when they first came out. But then I started getting so busy that I rarely listen to podcasts anymore. Occasionally I'll go and try to catch up. I'm still trying to catch up on Mike Duncan's Revolutions, the Russian Revolution one. I've fallen way behind. And so I never really caught up. But I did see a video of the guy from Acid Left, and he has not a mohawk, but it's a little thicker. So he has a similar hairstyle. He has a pretty big gingerly beard, and his name is Adam. He hosts a podcast, Acid X. So I've there's something there that's pretty funny. Now you're saying you're pretty new to all these shows. Really try to find some of those old Doug Lane and C. Derek Varn conversations. Their one on dual power, their conversations on Bordiga, just the way that Doug is able to ask some of these questions and the responses he gets. It's really illuminating for me. I felt much more like Doug's positions when I started reading them or listening to those, and hearing Derek's explanations was very helpful in getting a greater understanding. But I think they work so well together, especially in those early years as a pair, because they are both obviously leftists. I hate that game of whatever. But they have a different approach to come to similar conclusions that are still pretty different. So the way that they can go off each other is great. So anyways, I got another question over here too. This one seems more complex. Has the conspiracy theory been poisoned beyond acceptable consideration on purpose, or is it a function of desperate proletariat trying to make sense of the world? I'll bet in an absurd and illogical manner. And Evil Boy responded that too. The conspiracy industry poisoned it, but for the workers, it's something to believe in. 4. Bula. All right, bring up the first part again. Conspiracy theory been poisoned beyond acceptable consideration on purpose. So, yes, but it continues, and before that, it was a desperate proletariat. It was a function of that before. Conspiracy theories don't start, or conspiracy theory did not start as a deliberate attempt to stop it. Critical movements, liberatory movements, socialist movements. But they have a function to do that, absolutely, today. And they are being weaponized to do that today, absolutely. Any kind of agency with immense power that wants to hold on to it that wasn't operating in that would be, kind of stupid and not with their contemporaries. We know this. It feels repetitive to say in this kind of format, but we know the histories of things like MK Ultra, etc. COINTELPRO, various psyops, but we also can clearly detect that there are those that spread this information in a way that neutralizes any real possibility of fight or change, and they shift the target from the actual power holders and to scapegoats, and to various either entities or institutions that are far removed from these processes, and they try to compound way too much systemic nature of things into individuals manipulating. Conspiracies exist. They exist all the time. I can't remember who said it. It might have been Fisher, but what most people refer to as conspiracies is just the ruling class showing class interest. In some ways, we could describe any liberatory movement as a conspiracy as well. And I think that's why sometimes right-wingers sincerely believe highly conspiratorial stuff about left-wing movements. There's other reasons in here too. Racism and anti-Semitism not being the least of them. This is that's one of the things in the Communist Manifesto. A good background information on it really is this highlight of Marx being like, hey, don't hide, don't conspire in the dark, make yourself known, show power, don't be afraid. And this is against the Blanquists. The Blanquists were, basically a secret society type thing where they were conspiring to overthrow governments in secret, as a small group. We'll get rid of them, and then we'll be able to take over and institute socialism, anarchy, etc. And Marx's one of his main things early on with the manifesto and stuff is that no, this should be a movement of people out in the open. To be out in the open shows such a strength, and it changes the nature of the movement. And I do think that's true. I'm all for small secret societies, but for an actual mass liberatory movement, being out in the open saying, yes, I am a communist is probably a good thing. Ah, uh, Jack Bratlich calls that dynamic a conspiracy panic, or when concerns about the questionable aspects of conspiracy theories, which there are many, then develop into a kind of hysteria which can be used to marginalize forms of radical politics as baseless tinfoil hat kind of stuff. I mean, that's true. And there's also people that hide behind that as well and insist because, one thing from history that was or could have been labeled a conspiracy theory has been proven to be true, and therefore all these things are true. And that's equally as bad, right? That's how you have there's someone I know in my city that not only believes UFOs and extraterrestrials have made contact, which maybe they have, I don't know, but believes it so fully and believes that the world government that secretly controls us has bases on other planets and stuff like that, and will post pictures of like the various planets' flags and be like, this is top secret, declassified or not, still classified, leaked information. This is the planet, the official government of Mars that they don't want you, stuff like that. And they'll use stuff like, well, they really did do COINTELPRO. It's like, well, yeah, those are completely different levels. So we shouldn't. That's the danger in conspiracy, really, is conspiracy thinking, is linking them all together on the same level. It's really, really bad on both ends. It can let in really disingenuous, terrible views, and it can block real people conspiring to do evil shit. And mostly they're conspiring to do evil shit in the name of profit. Sometimes it's more base than that. Sometimes it's power and control of another, of humans or resources or land. But even that, in today's world, is still linked back to profit. Fact says QAnon is mostly BS, but it will throw out some interesting speculations on the continuity of government agendas. I mean, they're definitely mostly BS. Even if they use some facts to spin their BS, right? That's the thing about facts, the raw facts of things is they are not a narrative. They're not a story. You don't know what's going on just because you know all the facts. It's actually, if you just know all the facts, you probably know less about what's going on, because we're pattern making machines, but we're not the best at intuitively understanding the grand narrative of reality, if that could be understood. And the continuity of government agendas. I mean, yeah, government agendas for the most part are following pressures that are a lot of these things are unconscious to people, right? Like the consciousness, we think about it a lot with the proletariat consciousness, right? And that's Fisher's described as proletariat consciousness is entered as capitalist realism, this inability to imagine something beyond the actual structures of capitalism. So even when we imagine utopian or dystopian societies, we're still imagining them within the capitalist framework. This is just consciousness shaped by the conditions in which it was formed. The bourgeois consciousness is like this as well. The professional politic consciousness is like this as well. The parliamentary runaround protecting and doing the work of capital. It is formed within capital as its own piece. So of course these are individual people with goals, desires, etc. But underneath all of that, the terrain, the topological map on which it sits is the unconscious formed under the system of capitalism, right? So these agendas don't necessarily have to be carried out as long-term plans by other individuals or even by the same individuals. They have very similar dreams, goals, desires. The forces that are put upon them are the same forces. They're following the market. They're following capital as it dictates. That's that. We're going back just a bit, that about wars and stuff. There are reasons for these awful things to happen. There's incentives. So people are incentivized and the agendas follow them. It's harder to break out of the incentivizations of the economic system, the social system that you're in, than it is to fight against them. I mean, that's a truism, right? Oh, I forgot what question was on. What is critical realism? And I really need a new chair. It's so small. It's an old computer desk I found at the dumpster. Computer chair I found at the dumpster. Way too small. Barely goes halfway up my back. Uncomfortable. Can that be one word? Cool. I don't think that's true. This is something that I have loved reading Marcuse so much. I want to read some other stuff for the reading groups. If y'all have any ideas of things that you really want us to cover, that would be great. Please let me know. I always want to know what you guys want. I'm trying to cover stuff that's not, that there's not tons of videos on. And because oftentimes I feel like the best work by people does get overlooked. Like there's so much work on The One-Dimensional Man, and I've read it and it's a good book and everything, but like reading these other two essays by Marcuse, the essay on liberation and the aesthetic dimension, out of this world, 100% better than One-Dimensional Man. I can understand why One-Dimensional Man is so much easier to cover. Not that it's not philosophical and nuanced, but the subject matter, I think, is just overall more appealing to someone outright. I think if they actually started reading Essay on Liberation or Aesthetic Dimension or probably some of his other work, they would find it appealing, but it doesn't sound appealing. If you haven't watched those videos, I highly recommend it. Did both of them with Mateo Sanchez and Emma Stam, and really, really good conversations. We're going to do more stuff in the future together. I'm not sure what. Thinking about doing some R.D. Laing, if any of y'all are familiar with him. It's kind of a weirdo. People like Alex Jones and David Icke took conspiracy theories to the next level. I think they had a lot to do with this current post-truth era. I mean, they did. They took them to the next level, yes, but in what way, really? Like, a lot of the stuff they're saying is old school conspiracy. And a lot of old school conspiracy, you can find the roots of these things in anti-Semitic, like European anti-Semitic scare of a long time ago. And then like in America too, that anti-Semitism obviously did exist and continued, but you got a lot of anti-Catholic and anti-Mason movements as well, which reused a lot of anti-Semitic tropes. And I think that functioned probably in the way that just like these are fear-mongering things, someone secretly controlling you is scary. Like, it's not true, not in the sense that the conspiracy-minded would have you believe. I mean, your desires are not your own, but they're not being created by, someone pulling puppet strings, etc. Important Kava. Talking about conspiracies get me going. Bula. So, in America, in the late 1700s, early 1800s, I believe it was, you did have a lot of anti-Mason movements. And you had, with that, some anti-Catholic movements and stuff. They often mirrored old European anti-Semitic movements. This caused two things. The adoption of them, because they touch on a lot of base fears, broadly. But also the slide of people who get into one movement being able to slide into the other. And so I think that's very, very much going on with people like Jones and Ike. You get into one of those and it's not hard to fall into the others, and it's not hard to fall into implicit anti-Semitism, and then eventually explicit. You know what I mean? It's like, it just happens constantly. And it's partially because they recycle these tropes, and they even refer back to older things, which recycle them as well and go back and back. And then it's like at the end, it's turtles all the way down until it gets to a certain set of people at the bottom or at the top. And so they're doing something new. They brought conspiracy paranoia to a new level, but really they just took advantage of stuff, They just took advantage of the technology that was out there. You could say they did a little bit of new stuff, but I don't know if they did. I really don't know if they did. I think they just took advantage of the existing technology in ways that no one else had, and therefore spread it farther. So I guess that's changing stuff, but they didn't, anything that they're doing that I know of, it's not like it wasn't done before. People were already calling things false flags, and false flags do exist. They have existed, but to the level that like Jones would talk about is no. No. Actually, I'll talk about this a little bit. It's kind of frustrating. It's kind of sad. Let me have a drink of water. I know you've seen me drink like 6 different liquids. So, if you've been following me on my various platforms, you may have known my friend, my neighbor, my coworker, Claire Bridges. She contracted COVID in mid-January. She pretty quickly went into the ICU. She was born with a heart defect, and she, through various complications, she like flatlined and coded 3 different times, had to be resuscitated. She's very, very weak. She was on the edge of life for days. She is stable now. She's actually in surgery right now. Because of the complications, she ended up having to get her legs amputated, both of them. So, her friends as a community, the bar we work at together, we went and started a fundraiser, and it gained a lot of attention because of the story. She's also, she's 20 years old, which I think adds a lot to this as well. Although I think it's hard for anyone to lose their legs to make such a big adjustment. And yeah, I don't know. She's like a beautiful young woman. She's a vegan. She's an aspiring model. She rock climbs all the time. So it's like the story really caught people's attention. Obviously, with the people that know her, because she's a really goofy, funny, good energy person. So we all cared about it. It caught everyone's attention, and it went on the news, the local news, and the state news, and then within like 2 days, it hit international news. People were saying they saw it in Canada, and all this kind of stuff. So that's wonderful, but at the same time, we're raising money for it. We're doing the GoFundMe. It's gathering stuff. But now that her story has hit such a wide audience, we're getting phone calls at our work and messages on Facebook from people saying that it's not true, saying she wasn't born with a heart condition, that the vaccine gave it to her, stuff like that. It's insane. So on that false flag stuff, because now I am like adjacent, I'm actually like across the street, I guess, from this weird false flag accusation of trying to promote the consequences of COVID, etc. And she was fully vaxxed, absolutely. It's just that those comorbidities that you hear about, that people like that on the right might make fun of, and say like, oh, well, no one completely healthy is getting it. They are it can be so much more invisible than you think. People have this like idea that means they were an unhealthy bad person. It's like this way of justifying something awful medically happening to someone. It's being like, well, they had some comorbidities. So I think that's an interesting thing, because it's showing people, it's like showing them this young woman that's had something awful happen to her and complications, and instead of actually facing that, they're externalizing it into, no, this is a false flag propaganda to make me get vaxxed. Which you should get vaxxed. I'm sorry, you just should. There's an interesting Zizek argument on that, about how he favors an actual mandate over the stuff that the U.S. has been doing. I won't get into it, but it's basically kind of that what the U.S. has been doing is almost like, in a way, manipulating desires. It's making you do something without actually making you do it. And he finds that very dangerous and very misleading. So it's like almost like, no, you should just be told to do it because it allows for more freedom, really, an actual mandate, something like that. But the whole argument's complicated. So let's keep going. In your view, what should the relationship be between a project like the Locust Review and a revolutionary socialist organization? Oh boy. Asking the hard questions. I just kind of assume y'all can read this. I'm sure that's what you want to be doing, is reading. Evil Boy says, this phenomena of COVID patients who would rather die than receive the vaccine shows how firmly entrenched conspiracy thinking can become. Yeah, no, absolutely right. I feel bad for them on a lot of levels. And I can't lie, there's a level of me that feels a spite that wants to feel something less than remorse. But yeah, it is, if you think about it like that, it's like a virus in many, many ways that can affect the mind. It's a Dawkins style meme, and it really, really affects the mind. There's an overall conspiratorial leaning, I think, in American politics, and I think we all Americans, so I'm just basically including myself here. I'm not saying I'm immune to this, but you gotta keep it in check. You gotta question those kind of things, because yeah, I do think that the way that American history has been taught and construed really has a conspiratorial leaning that makes a lot of us more sympathetic to that. Without phrasing the Revolutionary Party. Revolutionary Organization. I want to say proletariat, but it sounds so fucking pretentious. There was a while where I used that language a lot. Now I don't know. I find it kind of cringe. Maybe it's because I've heard so many disingenuous people use it. That works. What do comrades around Locust Review think about the historical debates over proletarian art and proletarian culture in the early Soviet Union and elsewhere? What do y'all got on this? I see Mike over here. Oh my god, that's hilarious. Mike Lina Weaver. Is it Lina Weaver or Lena Weaver? I actually don't know. I always see his name written. Mike's hilarious. This is still a debate, LOL. I mean, I do think it is a debate in a sense. It's a debate, but not amongst the larger, like the working class or anything. It is an artistic debate, though, and Mike's a poet. He writes great poetry. But I do think it's a pretty funny chat-ass move to just dismiss that question. I see Adam Turl says Trotsky was wrong. Voila. Let's see. I want to see this. Let's see, so there's a definition coming up from World Socialist, socialistrevolution.org. Oh god, it's a whole article. I'm reading all that. Let me go through. Every ruling class has its own culture and consequently its own art. History has known the slave-owning cultures of the East in the classic antiquity, the feudal culture of medieval Europe, and the bourgeois culture which now rules the world. It would follow from this that the proletariat has also to create its own culture and its own art. This is the Trotsky thing. I mean, I agree with all of that until the last line complicates it. The proletariat has to create its own art. The question, however, is not as simple as it seems at first glance. Societies in which slave owners were the ruling class existed for many and many centuries. The same is true for feudalism, bourgeois culture. If one were to count only from the time of its open, turbulent manifestation, that is, from the period of the resistance, has existed 5 centuries, but it did not reach its greatest flowering until the 19th century. Yeah. So why I disagree with that sentence is has to create its own art is really weird. It just will. I guess my question, I've never read this Trotsky essay. I wonder if it means under socialism that art will take a new form, because I think, yeah, duh, absolutely. Why wouldn't it? That's that consciousness question that we were having earlier. We were talking about proletariat consciousness formed under capitalism. So it's like a subset of capitalist consciousness, and bourgeois consciousness also formed under capitalism, and how these things affect individual and aggregates of individuals and social groups, etc. So if they're talking about under a socialist society, the proletariat, like the dictatorship of the proletariat, where the needs of the proletariat would be the grounding force is the wrong word there. Yeah, I definitely don't think those were CBD gummies. Force is the wrong word there. But the dictatorship of the proletariat, as opposed to what we live under capitalism, which is the dictatorship of the bourgeois. Yeah, then in that case, once it is established, socialism, it would create proletariat art, if that's the language that they're using. It just would, because that would be what would be shaping the consciousness of the individuals within it. Although, under communism, they would no longer be proletariat, obviously, because that is a class, and we want to. The ultimate goal here is a very psychedelic one, and it's to abolish class itself, to get rid of class divisions within society. And that is psychedelic. It is the dissolution of boundaries. It is, it's the oceanic oneness of communism. Only mild tongue-in-cheek. Only mild. So, yeah, let's see. I want to read what everyone else said. I know I said I wasn't going to do that, but I want to read it. Adam says, Trotsky was clearly wrong about the possibility of working class art in those debates. It is true that the dominant culture of society is that the ruling class, but these are also repeatedly countercultures that develop around unions, social movements, among oppressed groups. Moreover, the conscious attempt to create a proletarian culture, as with, I'm terrible with these Russian names, Bognagov's Bolshevik communism and Lunacharsky's idea of God building, is part of the revolutionary process. That idea of God building, that one is pretty interesting. So that's what I was kind of afraid of that this was, because I've heard this before as well. I've definitely heard, again, to go back, C. Derek Varn, and I don't remember if it was by himself or with Doug Lane in one of those conversations, talk about that, the proletarian culture, or prokul, which was often called because, I don't know, Russian propaganda like to shorten everything. I mean, it's quick, it's hashtag prokul. And yeah, this idea of prescriptively creating, this is proletarian culture, I think, is like, follow these aesthetic guidelines and like this art, and you can bring about communism. Like, pretty fucking cringe, bro. It really is. It's not how things work. That, to go back again, that's one of the things that Marcuse definitely is writing against in the aesthetic dimension. And Margaret A. Rose in Marx's Lost Aesthetic, or Lost Hidden? I think it's Lost. Marx's Lost Aesthetic really goes out of her way to point out that within early Marx writing, use some not really published work from his college years, and some really early stuff, like some excerpts from German ideology and things like that. These are Marx's writings mostly on literature. Again, all these Marxists mostly write on literature instead of visual art, but he does include some paintings in there as well. I think it's his graduate writing stuff that's not readily available. You really have to look for it. But she uses that and talks about his writing at the time and how it does seem that his aesthetic would have much more favored the experimental constructivists and Russian avant-garde, etc., rather than the socialist realism that came later. So yeah, I think that idea of, if that's what I understand by proletarian culture and proletarian art, I don't think that's right. I think to truly have that, you would only get it under socialism and under communism, under a consciousness formed under those conditions, that you might call it that. Again, the idea is to transcend being a proletarian. The idea is to transcend class division at all. So the art that we can be making is art of the art that we can be making does speak to struggle, to liberation. This is Marcuse territory. So, but it's not prescriptive of how you should be and how you should live. Evil Boy says, what we do is proletarian culture, but not socialist realism. Expand. Do you have a channel? Is that like what you post on your channel you think qualifies as proletarian culture, but not socialist realism? That'd be interesting. I'll check it out if that's what you mean. Prokalt by Borganov, he took it a bit far, didn't he? I don't know. I have not actually read it. I've heard a couple people discuss it a little bit. From my understanding, it's not my thing. It's just not my thing. I don't believe... I think art's honestly much, much deeper than that. This is something... This is not like a, leftist opinion of mine. This comes from other parts of me. I think art... like I wrote in that last question, I think art and creativity are good for the individual. I think that trying to limit yourself to what you're going to express, like I'm going to express proletarian culture, that's gonna be the aesthetic, I think that's harmful. But ultimately, more than I think that's harmful, is I think expression itself is good for the soul, for the psyche, and at large for society. I think more people should be encouraged. I think we all should be encouraged, not that we all have to express and create art, to experiment and do fun, interesting stuff and see what comes out. It won't all be good. That's not the point. To create art itself, to express yourself itself in some kind of tangible form, even if the tangible form is short-lived, like singing a song. I think that's just as good. Although I also do think there is a strong power in sharing art. So the people that say, "Oh, I paint and then I burn it every 6 months. I burn all my paintings. I never show them to anyone." They're getting something out of that for sure. But I think there's also something, a really important something to be gained from sharing art with someone. I don't know, it's vulnerable. Even as an artist who's been in many galleries, who's been published work, who does live art in front of people who have to watch me create for hours on end, it's still vulnerable and it's still really, really nice. Share your art, please, even if you think it sucks. A lot of people's art sucks. My art sucks. But I hope you like it. All right, next one. What's the value in a physical medium such as newsprint? Because Locust Review does come quarterly on newsprint. I think I have some in my art studio. This is issue 3. That's the back of it, actually. That's the front of it. That's issue 3. And so you see, it's a newsprint. It actually, this is the one that has an interview with me. So if you are able, I don't know if they actually sell, if we sell back copies, but this issue 3 has a whole separate interview with me as a middle piece. So that's my art, and obviously words, and then it has an editorial that comes with each one as well. It's usually just one big piece, art and the themes of what they're thinking about. So it's the theme that they put out the call for submission, and then it's jointly written, although I think it does honestly largely fall onto Adam and Alex, Adam Turl and Alex Belay. They write it, and anyone's allowed to add stuff in the Google Doc, and then we also do there's a little organizational stuff. I always find this helpful to know, or I did when I was younger, just getting into this stuff. So they'll write it, typically we'll come up with a theme together, they'll write it, and then put it in a Google Doc where different people can look at it and write suggestions, and then we'll have a video call meeting where we can go over it, ask questions, clarifications, talk about things that might need to be added or removed or reworded. It's a good process. That's what I did with the Beehive Design Collective. I answered that in the questions up here earlier. I said I spent some time with them. I volunteered at their summer party, went to the Black Fly Ball, and then I came back the next winter. That was in the summer. I came back that winter and helped them. I was on the cooking team and the general maintenance team while most people were away. But then went on the cooking team when they had their big meetings. It's like, I don't know, probably 25 or 30 people meeting together, which, they don't meet together all the time, once a year usually, and learned a lot about their process. It was very, very interesting. So if you ever have that opportunity, especially as someone young interested in organizations like this, but you don't have to be young by any means. Take that opportunity to learn how other organizations are organizing themselves internally and how they deal with the outside world. It's incredibly interesting to see. I think you learn a lot from it, even if you're not trying to have an organization. When you interact with these things, think about that. It's really, really helpful. Your channel is Proletarian Culture. Maybe mine too. All right. I mean, I don't know if it is in that sense of trying to prescribe, like, at least like Trotsky's saying, from my understanding. I'd have to read the other ones. Maybe like the God building. I can kind of see that, especially in my personal work. And now that I'm the sole runner of Acid Left, maybe in Acid Left more as well. Let me drink another shell of Kava. Anyone got any? Lola. Ooh. really taste like dirt. Oh yeah, okay, so what's the value? That's where I was, I got lost. What's the value in a physical medium such as newsprint? Is there a value in untangibility in an increasingly digital world? I do think there is value in physical media, but it might be preference. I just like things. Like I would so much rather have a book than read a PDF. Y'all, PDFs suck. Oh, I really hate them. I don't like reading anything longer than a regular news article on my phone. Really, even that's pushing it. Oh, no, okay. It's intangibility both times. So I'm dead wrong there. By that's writing's so interesting. I really don't think about stuff sometimes until it comes out of in writing. Um, so these last lines, it's funny, before the internet was incredibly widespread and print media was at an all-time high, it almost seemed like print had lost all remainders of its uniqueness. The introduction of digital media sort of resurrected the aura of physical art. Never something I've said before, or I did not think it. I don't want to spell reminders. I don't get it. Like I said, terrible spelling. Remain. Sure. Let's see. Go to another tab. Is it just not supposed to be plural? Huh. See, that's weird as hell. Why couldn't there be more than one remainder? I mean, I guess it all remains. That's some weird metaphysical implications in that, in language. Yeah, I think that's kind of true. It's interesting. Is that something maybe people would like a video essay on? Like a more thought out written thing? The possible resurrection of the aura, partial. Ah, Jeremy Johnson. Good to see you. Thank you. Yeah, I figured it out. I'm really trying to expand and do fun stuff like this. I'm writing out messages for, or not messages, answers for Locust Review. I joined their editorial board, and we're being interviewed by a newspaper based out of Illinois. So all the members are answering. They're going to kind of amalgamate them into some sort of readable thing. So I'm answering these and just thought it would be fun to talk and chill. Jeremy, I was just saying, I find this really interesting. I just wrote it and hadn't thought about it before. But I think there's something about digital media that has maybe partially resurrected the aura of physical art. That, before the internet was widespread, it seemed that like print had, who cares? You can get print anywhere, right? Like there's hundreds, thousands of books. There's cheap romance novels printed like nothing. But now that you're inundated with digital images that you can create, take, share, every single thing. I mean, I'm live streaming now for 2.5 hours. People share constantly. Having a physical piece of art seems so much more important. I mean, I'm thinking of music now too. Like it was something to have an album, and then when burned CDs became so widespread, it was like, oh yeah, I got that, or But then when downloading became reasonable and feasible, it was like you would just download discographies of bands you heard about, you would never consider buying, or even like just taking the discography of a band you had vaguely heard about, thought sounded okay, like in CD or album or cassette form. Like that's way no. Right? But so the digitalization of media has really reintroduced that specialness and uniqueness to physical media. Obviously, it's still not as widespread, but that's part of what makes it special. Jeremy runs the Mutations podcast, which is quite wonderful, and Facebook group. Really good stuff. Everyone should check it out. Good interviews, good talks. He does all sorts of stuff. Yeah, exactly, Jeremy. That's exactly what I was thinking. The digitalization of media created a kind of retrieval of aura. Yeah, it seems like that. I hadn't thought about that until I was answering this question. Hola. Because Locus Review does print media. I did go on the Mutations podcast. I think it was fun. I think we had a good talk. And we will do it again soon. That's an interesting thing, too. This hasn't happened very often. I think this actually might be the only time. And it's impressive that it happened once. I met Jeremy online on, I believe, a Facebook group, or maybe he messaged me after seeing me somewhere else. I don't recall now. Oh, it's happened twice. There's another person, Eric Z. Goodnight. And we live in the same city. So it's pretty wild because it's not a huge city. I mean, it's not rural, but we're not in a huge city. We're not in, New York or something. So to meet someone interested in the intersection of art, spirituality, politics, philosophy, trying to build a post-capitalist world. Pretty great stuff. I hope you have people in your life that are like that, that you can actually talk to. It makes a big difference. Talking to people online is wonderful. I've made good friends, but nothing beats talking to someone in real life. Oh, I was a plague of creative work. Jeremy, what projects y'all got going on over at Mutations? Jeremy's also a writer. He has a book that I have not read, sadly. Jeremy, I need that book. Give me a physical copy. I was just telling them I hate PDFs. You gave me a PDF of it. I refuse to read it. I'm sorry. I would really like to read your book. Well, give it to me next time we meet up. How has the plague affected my creative work? Is that what it was? Creative work. All right, Jeremy says, on it. I'm working on the next book now, Fragments of an Integral Future. Hoping to have some panel episodes soon with Nora Bateson and, crossing fingers, David Wingo. That's awesome. That is awesome. Definitely looking forward to it. Fragments of an Integral Future. That's Jeremy's specialty, integral studies, following the work of Gesper, what is it? Gesper, who I'm actually not familiar with, but that's Gesper is what Jeremy's previous book is about. There's also a really good interview that he did on the Michael Brooks show that you can find. I'd recommend it. But I want to read his book to get an understanding of Gesper through his eyes. Maybe I should read that. Maybe that would be, Jeremy's book would probably be a really good reading group for the Acid Left to read and make memes. If you're interested in that, comment and you know, message me on Facebook or Instagram if you like. If you want to take part in that reading group to make memes about that book specifically or another. Well, are we doomed? I don't know if we're doomed. Are we doomed? What a weird question. I mean, no, I believe another world is possible. I really, really do. And obviously, for full transformation, like complete consciousness transformation of everybody on the planet and all systems that operate, is going to take a while. But I truly do believe that by the end of my lifetime, we could see massive, massive change for the better. But things don't look good. Yeah. Jeremy, to be honored. That's sweet. Any advice for young writers and artists? All right. I think I am done. I am done. Oh, that was fun. That was really fun. Let's see. We got some more questions, and I'm gonna be heading out real soon. That's my Kava getting muddy as hell. Muddy is the word for the buzz that you feel from Kava because it tastes like dirt. Hola. My GABA system is lit. Fox says, any thoughts of cryptocurrency or the digital dollar that may soon be a part of the virtual capitalist future reality? Evil Boy says, China has a digital currency now, the digital yuan, and it's not private. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Currency is interesting. From Marx's point of view, currency and value, price, or money they're not the same. None of those are the same thing. I find the arguments of modern monetary theory quite interesting. And I think they say a lot about fiat currency and the way that it works. I do think, and my opinion here is very much informed by C. Eric Varn. I do think, though, that they miss some stuff, like the intrinsic ability to apply force that fiat currency relies on, and modern monetary theory relies on. And I do think those are interesting discussions. I would definitely recommend some of the debates Varn has had on modern monetary theory. I think if you type in MMT Varn, they'll come up on YouTube. I also think One Dime has 2 really good videos on MMT. They're less critical, and Varn is not a dismisser. He just thinks it's more complicated than they make this out to be. I think those are good starts. So I start on that by saying, yeah, I don't think cryptocurrency is it. There's a lot of reasons why. I've been doing this for too long, and I'm too muddy to really get into a full thing on cryptocurrency. I used to be a mild believer in it, but I have definitely grown less and less charitable to cryptocurrencies as time passes by. Now, how money currency will work in a non-capitalist society is an interesting idea. There's been many attempts. There's like the Paracon idea. There's Marx's labor tokens. Nothing I've read has seemed to me, honestly, to be it. I haven't looked at something and been like, oh, this makes sense. And of course, who am I? Don't know. There's Paul Cockshot has some crazy stuff. It's super heavy with math, which it probably should be because it's about currency, but math is not my thing. You can't expect one person to be able to draw the blueprints for utopia. Who else? I'm missing something. For videos, I'm sure most of you have seen it because it's a pretty big channel, and this video has really blown up as well. Folding Ideas. I think it's called The Problem with NFTs. line goes up, the problem with NFTs by Folding Ideas. That really took a shank to the last remaining belief I had in cryptocurrency, which was small. But such a thorough video. I'd like to see someone argue against it in good faith from a left perspective. Maybe I'll ask the blockchain socialist, because I really enjoyed talking to him, and some ideas that are put forward initially sound good to me, and I could see why people get very enthusiastic about them, but at the end of it, I think, after real thought, I come away more skeptical than I do embracing. So that's just me. I don't know. I mean, digital currency in general, like fiat currency is digital, right? I mean, we have dollars as well, but it's ultimately digital. It's only dollars and cents in small quantities. And when you do banking and stuff, it's digital currency as well. Yeah, the NFT thing is whack, especially since they have no copyright or even practical uses. Yeah, absolutely. It's absolutely. There's so much to go into NFTs. I can't get into it really. But I agree with that. Honestly. Physical currency is a viral vector. We need to switch to digital currency in the COVID era. I mean, kind of with that. I'm kind of with that. I don't know if it's actually, maybe it is a viral vector. I thought so for a while, but I don't know how much more than anything else is. And I think the majority of people pay with digital currency, cards, Apple Pay, Google Pays, whatever it is, Samsung. There's problems associated with those too, the fees and the way that they accumulate. If we were to actually get rid of cash, there would need to be some kind of public option for getting a debit card or something like that, which maybe through postal service banks, which would be a great idea. That was something Bernie ran on in 2016. Because handing in all money transactions over to private institutions would definitely be sus. I've really enjoyed this. Thank y'all for keeping me company, asking some really good questions and giving some good input while I answered all these Locus Review interview questions. I will definitely put out the interview when it comes out, whenever that is, on the various pages, Facebook, Instagram. I'll probably link it on the YouTube community, which I don't post on there enough. I should post on there more. Oh yeah, absolutely. The majority of money already is digital. Majority of currency. That's it. I hope y'all have a wonderful day.